Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today at the Women Who Lead conversation brought to you by UKZN's College of Law and Management Studies. I am your host for this afternoon, Timbalete Shange. Moreover, the session is brought to you courtesy of UKZN's Financial Society, and we are very honored to have our guests today. Today is a different day. We have guests who lead and are a sheer example that women can and actually do run this world. I'm talking about none other than Ms. Nontutu Gombele as well as Ms. Noma Zondo, who come from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Before we get into their bios, let's have an address from the Finance Society's Deputy President, Ms. Tolwami Mlambo. Over to you, Tolwami.
Distinguished speakers, Ms. Nontutu Gombele, the Chief Finance Officer of the UKZN, Ms. Noma Zondo, the Executive Director of Corporate Relations at UKZN, Mr. Tandole Tutongo, the President of the UKZN Finance Society, Program Director, Ms. Tembale Tushange, Generational Equality Change Makers, colleagues, a warm welcome to today's Women's Month event. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Tolwami Mlambo, and I am the Vice President of the UKZN Finance Society. We are all gathered here to celebrate the achievements of women in this country. This is a tribute, a call to action that highlights the extraordinary roles of women in the society as trailblazers of change. This allows us to gauge how far we have come in transforming humanity, society, as well as our communities. This celebration is also a venue to discuss and address the list of factors that are slowing the progress of gender equality and women empowerment. The first being the substantial gender gaps that continues to deprive women and girls of opportunities. We still remain off target in achieving the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, which is achieving gender equality and empowering all women. Sadly, the progress on some of the gender indicators has either deteriorated or stagnated over the past few years. The second factor is the violence against women, both young and old. Now, as social and economic stresses continues to rise, and movement is restricted by the lockdown regulations and stay-at-home guidances, the instances of violence are likely to increase as well. And this is because you find that the women survivors are exposed to perpetrators, and that's very depressing, ladies and gentlemen. The third factor is the informal work and instability. Now, with economic activities at halt during this pandemic, women that work in informal sectors have experienced and continue to experience a dramatic decline in their capacity and ability to earn a living. Now, with issues as this, one thing can lead to the other. And in most instances, you'll find that those aren't good things. For an example, prostitution. Now, with this factor, I personally feel like it hasn't been dived into 100% in this era, which is stigma and period poverty. It is a human right to manage periods safely and with dignity at all times. Now, because of stigma and taboos, many are restricted from everyday spaces. They are banned from touching or doing things they deem fit. Now, this happened even before the pandemic hit. It is seen as a disgrace or you are dirty. Now, it's even more challenging for many women to manage their periods safely and with dignity during a crisis. I read an article from the UN News and found that there are more than 500 million women all around the world that lack adequate facilities for menstrual hygiene management. Now, you need to bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the periods do not stop just because there is a pandemic, and neither should all of us in breaking the taboos about menstruation. There are so many factors that women still face in this world, others being ageism, sexism, racism, and maternal health. but my word is it takes one to become one. The late Queen Elizabeth I of England from the year 1558 once said, and I quote, "I know I have the body of a weak, feeble woman, but I have the fight and a stomach of a king. And let women's rights be human's rights," close quote. And again, I say, ladies and gentlemen, it takes one to become one. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank everyone for your commitments, which is demonstrated by your joining us from different places this evening. Allow me to wish you all a successful and a fruitful event. I thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Tolwani. Indeed, it takes one to become one. So before we get into the gist of things and actually getting to know our esteemed guests for today, let's just learn a bit about them and who they are, starting off with Ms. Nontutuko Mbele. She is the Chief Financial Officer of the University of KwaZulu-Natal and has been so since March 2017. She's also currently a non-executive director at Mercedes-Benz South Africa. Well, prior to joining the UKZN family, she also held various leadership positions, such as being heading the Durban office of Segala Xabiso Consulting, as well as being a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Ms. Mbele is by profession a chartered accountant and holds a Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting, as well as a postgraduate diploma in accounting from the University of Cape Town. She matriculated at Polela High School in Bulwer, KZN, and was born and bred in Pietermaritzburg, KZN. Last but definitely not least, we have Ms. Noma Zondo, who has more than 15 years experience in public relations, media relations, communications, marketing, events management, project management, as well as extensive networks, both local as well as internationally. Her role at UKZN includes positioning the university locally and globally as a premier university of African scholarship, advancing institutional internationalism, and providing high-level strategic support to the senior management team of our esteemed university. She's also responsible for establishing, enhancing, as well as maintaining effective yet mutually beneficial relationships with the university's key stakeholders and its diverse public through communication, marketing, and public relation activities that will promote the university's reputation. Sure. After reading those bios, I'm already inspired, and we haven't even gotten into the crux of the session. So in the interest of time, let's get straight into it and welcome our guests for today, Ms. Noma Zondo, as well as Ms. Nontutuko Mbele. Welcome, ladies, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Tembeletu. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Tembeletu, for the welcome.
Oh, ladies, there are so much that can be said about you. You've achieved so much in your lifetime, and we're actually very honored that you took the time to be with us this afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us, and I'm sure everyone at home is eager to get to know who the ladies are that actually run this very established university. So let's start with you, Ms. Noma Zondo. What are the main characteristics that fuel your ambitions, your dreams, as well as what makes you strive for better altogether? Let's start with you, Ms. Zondo.
Well, I was hoping that you'll start with two, but anyway. Thank you for that question. Yeah, it is a tough one, but I think for me, it's about making an impact and doing good. That is what drives me. And to have the ability to support and nurture others without expecting anything in return. And more importantly, the hope or the belief that I have managed to touch, someone, and also managed to contribute to somebody's life in a very, very small way. But I making a small contribution makes people acknowledge what you have done, and even to speak about it. For me, it makes me want to do more and to strive for better. Making a difference is not always about big things or huge gestures that you do. It's all about the million little things. Thank you.
Well, that's a beautiful answer. So, Ms. Mbele, Ms. Nomazondo spoke of impact and contribution. Would you say those are also factors that make you strive for better, or is there more to it than that for you?
I do think that it quite aligns to my view also on what fuels my ambition. I've been looking at things, I suppose, lately. I'm at a stage in my life where I'm actually trying to create and nurture things that will outlast me, and I'm more thinking about future generations. And I think obviously being a mother to small children tends to shift your way of thinking towards what is it that my children will inherit from me, their friends, as well as their children. So right now, what I hope to do, and really what fuels me to do better, is that desire to be in an environment where I can leave, or I can do things that will leave a lasting legacy for those that are coming after me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You speak of legacy and just generational wealth in essence, just making sure that you ensure that that happens for yourself and for your children and their children to come. So in as much as you have the aim of ensuring that you want to create this generational wealth, there are challenges that come about, and there are certain failures that also come about within your journey. So how do you cope with that?
So I think one of the things that I've found is that failure is part of the journey, and doubting yourself is part of the journey, and facing challenges and trying to succeed at what you're trying to do is is part and parcel of the journey. And it's more how you react to and how you then take lessons from that. So for me, when I've faced challenges, I've tried to approach them in such a way that I'm able to learn from them, so that I can grow from those rather than allow them to stop me from trying again. And in terms of lessons that I've learned along the way, in terms of my career, what I've learned mainly, there are many lessons. I can probably speak for hours on the lessons I've learned, but I've just focused on I will focus on probably 3 or 4 things. One of the things is when I make a mistake, I own my mistake, and I apologize if I need to. That approach, I think, has helped me to win friends, influence people, which is something that's quite important for success in life. I've also had to learn, probably the hard way, to say no when I'm asked to do something that I cannot do. Most people, and I think it is understandable, when you start out in your career, you eager to please, you eager to impress. And sometimes that's dangerous in that you then tend to take on things that you cannot do, and you quickly earn yourself a reputation of not being reliable, not being able to deliver. So it's actually quite important to learn very early on in life to say, look, I cannot do this right now, and say no, so that you can then at least be able to deliver on what you've promised to do or what you've been asked to do. And that way you can preserve your brand. We are all very likely to find ourselves in situations that we can do absolutely nothing to change. If you happen to find yourself in an environment where you have a boss from hell, or you work with co-workers that you don't like, there's not a lot you can change about that particular situation. But what you need to learn is, how do you manage how you react to that situation? So deal with what is within your control, and instead of trying to change things that are outside of your control. And then I think lastly, it is important to define who you want to be known as professionally. If you know who you want to be professionally and what kind of image and brand you want people to know you for, then you tend to associate with people who are going to embody those characteristics and values, and the people that you can learn from. So whatever challenge comes your way, you react to it in a way that aligns with who you want to be. And that also determines whether you're going to stay and try to deal with the challenging situation, or you're going to leave it, because whether you deal with it or not, it's not actually contributing positively to who you want to be. So yeah, that those will be, I think, for me, the sort of main lessons I've taken away from the challenges that I've faced in life.
Yeah. So you speak of basically accountability, holding yourself accountable and being able to say no. Ms. Zondo, would you say that it's the same for you? But I'm also thinking that since you're very much into public relations, what Ms. Bella spoke about in terms of, building your own identity as a person in the corporate space is just as important. Would you say that's also, helped you cope with your failures and challenges throughout your journey?
Definitely, I will say yes. I think to touch on things that are very, very important that you have to learn very, very early in life to be successful in your career. Most of the things that she's mentioned, they pretty much aligned with my thinking and the way I've been carrying myself through, and also for a person, you have to know and accept, or once you know and accept that there will be failures along the way. You'll doubt yourself many times, and there will be risk that you can't do anything about it. So you have to make sure that when that happens, you are equipped to deal with it, because it's like when you plan an event like maybe this one or any other event, you tick all the boxes, you cross all the T's, and if something is going to go wrong, it will definitely go wrong. Your only saving grace is how you deal with it. How do you actually handle yourself in that type of environment, and how you get around it. If you're good, or if you have mastered if you have mastered the act of calmness, most people won't even notice that something really went wrong here. It wasn't supposed to be like this, or it wasn't supposed to go this way. So if you know those things, because those are like, they will save you, because once something goes wrong, if you react, even in a crisis, if you fuel the crisis yourself, then the people around you will also be hyped, everyone, and then you won't be able to to find solutions to whatever problem you're facing at that point. So it's very, very important to remain calm and remain grounded. It doesn't matter what's around you. And it's also very important to own your mistake. If that was your mistake, you must own it, and you must actually be honest about it, because things will go a lot better if you just put your cards on the table. It was my mistake. This is what I did. I should have done this. And also at the end, you just take the lessons, and in future when you're faced with a similar situation, how you're going to get around it. Without making a big deal out of it. Mistakes happen, and some mistakes are, they happen because of recklessness, but some mistakes are mistakes. So you just need to know which mistakes are acceptable and which aren't acceptable. Because if you give whatever you do, you give yourself 100% in everything that you do, then you'll be able to realize, and you will be able to then foresee the risk as well in what you do. And also, more importantly, because I'm in PR and communication, in what you say is also very important, because anything that you say is a risk, can be a risk, and can be construed, and can change the whole conversation that we're having now. So it's very, very important to also always remember that, and especially those people who live on social media, that follows you through your life, and you don't want that kind of risk, because some of the risk at least is things that we can control, but there are risks or failures that you can't really control, and there's nothing much you can do about it. So the best thing that you can do just to take the lessons and focus on those and make sure that you improve as you go along. But it's important that you actually own it. Don't blame others. If it's your mistake, it's your mistake. It doesn't matter who else was involved, but your part must be your part. You must just own it and take care of it. And it will, as I said earlier, it will actually, the impact of that mistake or that risk will then be much more manageable. If you actually come forward and say, this was my mistake, and if you have to apologize, you apologize, and if it has to be in public, it must be in public. It doesn't matter. Don't think about the other people. What are they going to say? You've made a mistake, so you just need to own it, and then just try by all means to make sure that it gets sorted as soon as possible.
Thank you so much for that answer. So you both speak of owning your truth. So in as much as, challenges may come, a lot may be happening, but you need to own your truth. So you're both very busy. You both have incredible accolades under your belts. My question to you now is, what is your why? You go through so many things in order to get to where you are. What drives you? What is your why? Let's start with you, Ms. Zondo.
Oh, well, I think my why is mostly covered, because I believe in making an impact in everything that I do. So if that does not drive me, I don't know what drives me, because I believe that we all have our own set of values. We all have our own goals. We all have things that we want to achieve in life, and I believe that one of those things mostly what drives you, because you want to do things that will make you stand out in the crowd. You want to do things that will also, in terms of managing your reputation as an individual and your brand, is very important to actually know who you are, and know what are you, what are the plans in your career, which direction that you want to go. You can't, it's even the same as when you start off by choosing the right career path. You can't be following your friends, or you can't be following other people because you think what they're doing is actually good or it looks good, but you'll find that it's actually not for you. You are a different person, and I think for me, staying who you are, it's very important. It doesn't matter what challenges then comes your way, because if you are the person that if you know who you are and you know where you want to go, then it makes it easier for you to actually recognize the things that, okay, this is what I am actually looking for, and then you hang on to that. And also when you move from that, you also want to reach even more. But also it's always about making an impact and contributing positively in other people's lives. It's not all about me, what's happened to me, but it's also what you do to actually, during your engagement, your networks, everything that is around you. Your contribution is always important. For me, I always make it a point that in everything that I do, it should be impactful, and also it's about that little contribution that I make, to make a difference to other people's lives, and then obviously in that way, my path is also made, because that's what makes me who I am, and that's what I'm content with, that of way I am.
Well, thank you so much for that, Ms. Mpele. What is your why?
I think my why is it's my desire to leave things a little bit better, or a lot better than how I found them. Which is probably also, I suppose, a fear. I don't want to be gone and people be thinking, what exactly was she here for and what did she do? So that is what I would say encourages me when I feel discouraged, or I think that the challenges are just a little bit too much, and maybe it's time to accept that I've done what I can. But if I'm not at a stage where I can actually say, these are really the critical and key things that I have done and I have made better while I'm doing my work, then my work is probably not done, and therefore I need to wake up every day and continue pushing through so that I can leave whichever place I'm working at a little bit better than how I found it.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So you speak of leaving things better than you found them. What then would you say is something that you've learned in your journey that you're now most grateful for, that leads you, or has led you rather, to being where you are today?
I was obviously very fortunate that when I started working, it was, I think, a time of great opportunities for a young Black woman. So I am definitely very grateful for the many opportunities that I did receive at the time when I was starting out in my career. And I'm also quite grateful for the fact that the people that supported and mentored me, I would say at times probably recognized my talent, sometimes long before I recognized it, or long before I actually realized the potential that I had as an individual. So when the opportunities had been given to me because of my race, my gender, but what was more important was that I use my talent to then achieve the success that I wanted to achieve. And I got people who actually wanted to support me, not because I was a Black woman, but because they could see that I was very talented and I had the potential to be successful. So they nurtured that talent. And I see now when I look back that without that talent, probably, yes, I may have been successful, but I don't know if the success would have been very long-lived. I think I would have had a very short and very successful, but very short career. And on a personal note, I'm very grateful for that I had a grandmother who, even though she herself was not fortunate enough to be educated, because she had a father who believed that educating a girl child was a waste, she ensured that she instilled in all of her grandchildren the importance of getting an education, but more importantly, the importance, she always told us that you need to make sure that you end up being a whole lot better than your parents, because they haven't had as many opportunities as you have, and you need to get an education so that you can make sure that you end up being more successful than your parents. And I think for me, that is something that even when I found it quite hard sometimes at university or in whatever I was doing, it really just reminded me that I've been privileged to be able to get what I've got in terms of education and opportunities. And I need to use them because there are other people who want these opportunities and they do not have them. So yeah, in my journey thus far, the education I've gotten, the support, the mentoring, that's what I would say I'm most grateful for.
Okay, Miss Zondo, what would you say you're grateful for in your journey thus far?
Well, I would say that I'm also grateful that in my journey, I was lucky to meet people who believed in me, people who encouraged and supported me, and also supported my ideas and ambitions, to actually grow. Because without, that kind of support, and also without, like Tutu said, if somebody recognize your abilities, recognize your talent, and they're not afraid, to actually mentor you, because sometimes you could be very, very good, but you meet people that will actually block you because they feel threatened by you being there, or the way you do things, or the way you're getting in recognition around you. So it actually takes a very a strong a person to actually be able to recognize other people's or another person's abilities and talent, and to nurture that in a way that actually grow that person, instead of sabotaging that individual, and don't allow the individual to grow, or to bring up their own ideas in terms of especially in the workplace, because that happens a lot, where depending who is around you, then you might not get the opportunities. So I guess I was also the lucky ones to actually be in be around people that we're very open, and we're very nurturing in nature, and we able to supports me and allow me to fly, and also just to reach for my dreams, and as do things the way, because we all have our own way of doing things, so if you're lucky enough, you'll find people that will allow you to do that, because that's what makes you who you are, and that's what makes you grow. But if you get to meet people along the way that want to put you in a box, then it becomes very difficult, even though it doesn't matter how good or how talented you are. But that's why I am forever grateful that I was not in that kind of a position to actually have individuals that would not support who I am or the ideas. So it's very, very important to have people around you that are supportive, even in your personal life as well. I mean, we all come from backgrounds where our own parents didn't go far in terms of education, but they believe that it's important for you to go to school, and for you to succeed, and so on. And also the opportunities that were there in terms of getting scholarship, and getting to go and study in a different country. Those things, they build you, they make you think differently. And having to being exposed to many diverse people from all over, it's something that changes you. It changed the way you think, it changed the way you want to do things, and also how you actually engage with other people, and how you yourself want to support other people, because how hard journeys can be. But so it makes it easier if a lot of people get such support, because then it means then the generation coming behind us, those are the people we're also going to support, because we were molded in that kind of environment, because I can't do anything different than what was done to me. I mean, so it's always the case also, if bad things happen to you, so you happen to go that direction as well, because that's the way you were treated. But as I said, I'm really grateful for that support, and also the environment that allowed me, to grow and also be who I am, today. Thank you.
All right, ladies, thank you. So you both speak of an environment that has allowed you both to grow. Ms. Mbele made mention to the fact that her grandfather was very much against, women being educated, especially in this climate that we live in now politically. It's still very evident that particularly Black women in corporate executive positions still find it hard to, assert the fact that they deserve to be in those positions, not because of, any other demographics, but just by virtue of being good enough and getting whatever positions that they've gotten on merit. Do you still think, as people who've been very much exposed to corporate, the corporate world, as well as being in very high positions in the corporate space, has those traits till today followed you? And if so, how have you dealt with them, and how have you asserted the fact that you deserve to be in those positions that you've gotten today? Ms. Mbele, let's start with you.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, I'll probably say I've been fortunate in a way, because the environment that I've spent a lot of my working life in was that environment of, I guess it's continuous growth and continuous professional development. And it was an environment also that took very seriously the issue of diversity in the workplace, because they had seen, or rather there was an acknowledgement that the workplace was changing quite quickly and quite rapidly. And therefore, the previous sort of management regime wasn't actually serving the interests of the organization. And therefore that the organization itself needed to have diversity in its leadership, and there were people who were genuinely interested in changing the environment, with or without the legislation. They were individuals who believed that in order for the organization to thrive and to succeed, it needed to have leaders that are different from the leaders of before. So I have been fortunate in that. I think from a personal perspective, having to, I guess you can call it, fight for my place at the table has not been something that I've had to do. But there's more than enough evidence out there to show that there's still a lot of people that need to basically fight for their position at the table. And for me, it's I think your technical knowledge is taken as a given. That has to be on point, and you can't. That's just the bare minimum. A lot of how you deal with your work environment comes down to your interpersonal skills. So whether you're having to assert your authority, you need the right skills to be able to do that in a way that you are still able to achieve your objective, and you are not seen as, and you're given all sorts of labels. So it usually and almost always comes down to you need to know what your objective is, and you need to know what it is that you need to do in order to achieve your objective. If you keep your objective in mind, I think that makes it a lot easier to, I guess, remove the emotion from having to assert yourself and having to ask, or rather having to get what it is that you want from the people that you want it from, or from the people that you need it from. And sometimes it's also realizing that you yourself might not personally benefit from what you are doing, and being able to say, yes, I won't benefit from this, but those that are coming after me will have it a lot easier. And if they have it a lot easier because I've had to struggle and suffer and fight at this stage for myself, then it's still all worth it. So we do need to, I guess, as individuals, sometimes think about the fact that I'm just clearing the way for somebody else to be able to walk in quite easily, and to not have to fight so hard and so much. So I would like to believe that in what I've done, I've been able to clear the way. So once I've gotten my seat at the table, I've been able to show that people like me, regardless of where we come from, we know what needs to be done, and we are able to do what needs to be done just as well as the next person, if not sometimes better. And by leaving that kind of legacy that says it doesn't matter where I come from, it doesn't matter the color of my skin, it doesn't matter that I'm a woman, just judge me based on what I've been able to achieve, and the people that come after me will no longer have to fight for that. They will be automatically assumed to be capable until then they prove themselves to be incapable. Whereas maybe the generation or people my age and those that came before me, we've come in on the assumption that we're going to fail and then have had to prove that we're not going to fail. So those that come after us, I would hope that their environment will be that environment that automatically assumes that they will succeed and that they are capable of doing whatever is being given to them. And then they can work on building on that and making things even better for those that come after them.
Sure. So that's so powerful. You say that even if you've had a hard time or had to fight, as long as you've cleared the table for the next person, you've done your job. That's very powerful. Ms. Zondo, would you say that your journey has also been, similar to that of Ms. Bella in terms of being fortunate enough to not have to fight your way through, or was it quite different for you?
No, in fact, I was actually laughing to myself to say, I mean, I think we had very, very, similar, parts for some reason. I don't know why, but as Tutu described, it's I would also say that I really did not have that kind of experience in terms of having to fight every time for what I want, and having to prove myself beyond or top other people in terms of them being in terms of accepting or giving recognition of the things that I can do. So it always comes to, I think, the environment, even though we've actually worked in very, very different environment until now, because I've always worked in higher education, and I started working here at UKZN, even though I had other stints, but my working life has always been with institutions, especially UKZN. So I think UKZN has given me and most people that opportunity to be yourself, and not to having to every single day fight for what is actually supposed to or fight for what you deserve. So, but I know also for a fact that there are some people who always have to fight, depending, because even within UKZN, it's a huge organization, and not all people getting the same treatment. As I said before, it also boils down to the people that are around you at that particular moment, and also the impact that they have in your working life or in your career. And it's very important, as I said, to have that kind of a environment that is supportive. But I would actually like things to be more easy, to empower women, for that to come more naturally than being forced by legislation or policy. so on. So we have to come to a point where you I think sometimes also we like to put ourselves in a box or give ourselves too many labels. I personally don't like labels. I'm a person first before I'm a woman. I'm a woman, I'm a black woman, or whatever the case may be. So if I don't like what you do because it's not because you are a woman or you're a man or you whatever color you are, I just don't like what you're doing, period. So that's how I also want, people to actually approach, when it comes to me. I'm not talking about everyone, I'm talking about myself, that the way I approach things, have nothing to do with, gender or boxes or young, old, or whatever. So it's all about, being, once you recognize that how capable a person is. So you have to judge a person by their capabilities or by by the fact that you can rely on that person, by the fact that you know that person no matter what will deliver. It doesn't matter, will deliver and will actually do much better than any other person. So that's how you have to look at this, but also support people in their endeavors, because it doesn't mean that if you are a woman, somebody must do you a favor. No, you have to prove yourself, and you have to be capable, and you have to do your part also to make sure that whatever you do is it's always on par, with others, or even better, because then that's who you are. Nobody is doing you a favor, nobody is trying to push you into some position, so you do that, for yourself, the way you carry yourself and the way you perform any duties that are thrown at you. So I believe that, yeah, I think we should be moving into a direction where we things then come naturally. We support, women, and also the women that are coming, after us. They find things ready, as Tutu said. The way is much obviously easier, because there's a lot of challenges out there, but you want people that are coming after you to find it easier to navigate their career path than probably many of us weren't able to.
Thank you so much for that. So earlier you both spoke of stigmas that are attached to people by virtue of, the demographics that exist. One thing that is on the rise right now, especially because of social media, is mental health. What is mental health? We're learning a lot more about it, and we're being a lot more accepting of it. So as people who have really tight schedules, who have achieved so much, I'm sure it does get to a point where it's sometimes daunting. So how do you preserve your mental health, and what advice would you have to other people in regard to mental health, who also see themselves, occupying positions like yourself? How should they manage that and be kinder and, more true to themselves when they're feeling like they've been overwhelmed? Ms. Mbele, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you for that. Mental health is actually, I'll call it a secret passion of mine. I'm currently trying frantically to finish my degree in applied social sciences, majoring in psychology. And that, obviously, there's a long story behind that, but I think that has come to me, or rather that has come to give me an appreciation of mental health, and the fact that we need to acknowledge that mental health issues exist. I probably come from a place where I, even at some point, I would say things like, yeah, well, I don't have stress. Stress is not really something that, it doesn't exist. But thankfully, over the last 3 years when I've been studying, I think I've come to a bigger realization that most of us don't want to acknowledge that mental health issues exist because of the stigma that's attached to it. And that then obviously leads to a whole lot of other complications because people don't seek help when the issue is still small and can be dealt with adequately. And by the time they seek help, it's sometimes it could be too late. Some people don't even get a chance to seek help. So there's a lot that we just need to do just to acknowledge the fact that mental health issues exist and educate ourselves as to what kind of mental health issues are the people that we are around dealing with. So if you live with your grandmother, there's actually a whole lot of material out there that tells you about some of the mental health issues that older people, as they get old, can experience. But obviously, they will never, ever even, they might not even know, let alone if they know, they would not tell you. So if you're working with people in an environment, you need to also understand, try and understand what are the common issues that they may face, so that you can then, one, be able to possibly identify if they are struggling with those issues. And for me, I think it's the same thing. It comes down to, you need to have a level of awareness where you can tell when you're not yourself. You wake up in the morning and you can tell that I'm in a bad mood today, or I'm feeling sad today, or I'm feeling very happy, I'm excited, whatever the emotion is, you need to have that awareness so that if, say, you wake up and you're just feeling angry, you can warn people around you to say, listen here, don't mess with me today. And then today. You can spend that time trying to figure out what's going on with you. Is it something you can deal with yourself? Is it something you need to talk to somebody about? Is it something you need to seek professional help for? Because, it's a whole range and it's a whole spectrum. But it's important that we keep talking about these things and we keep talking about our experiences. So I think for me, what I'm finding also, though, is that whatever you tend to read about, how do you deal with, is it depression, is it stress, is it whatever, the techniques for dealing with these issues are sometimes just so simple and not complicated. It's really just basic things. Take care of yourself, sleep, get enough sleep, eat well, exercise, talk to people. We're social beings, and so just talking to people sometimes, not even about your problem, just talking to people in general can do you so much good. And sometimes we tend to overlook all those simple things and we try to get to some fancy, complicated answers in terms of how we deal with mental health concerns. So we need to talk, I would say. I think for me, what I'm finding is just talking about the issues and also seeking help early when you think there might be something that's going wrong is better than trying to keep it to yourself because, what are people going to say kind of thing. Well, what are people going to say when you're really depressed and you can't even get out of bed, as opposed to what are people going to say when you think, I'm just feeling sad and I'm feeling a little bit down, and you talk to them about that. So I really would hope for work environments and even home environments that encourage us to talk about our feelings. I don't know whether it's my family only way, but I think it's probably that way for most Black families. We don't talk about our feelings. So the first time I saw a coach, and every time I would see her, she would say, "How are you feeling?" And I couldn't even label feelings. That's how bad it was. So I would always say, I think this and I think that, and no. How are you feeling? So ask yourself that question every day. How am I feeling? Not what you're thinking, not what do I need to do, but how are you feeling? And that alone can just increase your awareness and help you to quickly identify when there's a problem approaching.
Yeah, that is so powerful. I think the acknowledgement of how you're feeling sets the tone for your day and, just how you actually go through that day. Because if you're not okay, everything else that you do as well, doesn't turn out good either. Ms. Zondo, would you also agree that mental health is something that is important to you? If so, how do you go about dealing with it?
Well, the psychologist has spoken. So
most definitely.
I'm definitely covered. But I think it's very important to know yourself. Self-awareness is very important. Self-care is very, very important. Because we all go from, you want to do more and you want to, make sure that your projects are done, but your body will tell you, hey, no, I'm not going there. And easy. Hashtag and easy. So you're trying, but some mornings happen, you're like, oh no, it's tough. I think also because of lockdown and everything, so everything just come flooding. Sometimes you wanna okay, today it's not my day, and it's actually going to be like that, the whole day, if you don't really just step back and then do those little things that will make your day better. Speak to someone and just get as Tutu said, you just talking about doesn't have to be about what you're feeling or what your problem is, because sometimes you get up and you just not in that mood and you really don't know why, and you can't even explain that. So if you have that, obviously if you have that very often, you definitely have to speak to a specialist, a psychologist, therapist, whatever. But if you do have access to those, but if you don't, you should have people around you that you can just talk, that you trust. And when you do feel like that, as I said, you just need to take a break without feeling guilty that I should be doing this, but I'm not doing, because we actually juggle a lot of things as people, especially as women, because people, women with young kids, you don't want to be, you not want to be in, you always want to be in your element, especially in front of your kids. So sometimes you just need to take a break, don't feel guilty. And obviously once that happen, you'll probably you will struggle with a lot of things. If something is not right in your system, you won't sleep well, you will have a problem socializing, and sometimes you just have to step back, and it's fine. You rest, and you just need to recover. As you said earlier, that sometimes you just need to be kind to yourself, because there's only you. So there's only one of you, and bad times they do come and go. So as long as you know that those days are not, it's not like every day that happens. Some now and then it happens, but you just need to take it in, take it slow, and then you just once they go, and then you obviously your smile will return again. You'll be okay. When you are in trouble, also it's very important that you ask for help, because sometimes it's not just a bad mood. You are really in trouble. You're feeling something that you can't explain. As I said, you need to reach out to somebody, and talk about it. What is actually worrying you? You might not recognize that there is something that's worrying you, but sometimes you just, there are things in your day, maybe in your week or whatever, that trigger something in you, and then your mood changes. So you have to be able to recognize those kind of episodes, and be able to, it's either you document it or you write about it, so that when you do have an opportunity to talk to someone, you can sort of link all of these episodes to whatever. And also stress is actually one of the things that make a lot of people sick, because you keep going even though your body or your system cannot really carry you. So then and you end up having all kind of sickness that you don't know where they come from, because you keep pushing and pushing, instead of listening to your body, listening to your, it's important to listen to your soul as well, because that's what carries you. Just be kind and take time out. I mean, I know I don't do that often, but yeah.
I think this is the sign you've been waiting for, to do that a lot more often. Thank you so much for those honest answers, ladies. One last thing to everyone who's watching, please do ask your questions in the Q&A box. We're about to get into Q&A. Just one last question, then we'll get into Q&A. So please ensure that if you have a question, do not lose that chance. Ask the question in the Q&A box so that you have a chance to interact with our esteemed guests today. So one last question before we get into the general questions from the general public. In light of it being Women's Month, how would you then educate, especially young women, on skills that they need to lead independently, so that they can carve out a successful career for themselves? Someone's watching out there and they're saying, I see myself in these ladies. One day I also, want to be like them. I aspire to be like them. So what would you say is something that they need in order to actually get to that level and carve out, a successful journey for themselves? Ms. Zondo, let's start with you.
Well, I mean, in terms of career-wise, for young people out there, when you get an opportunity, just go for it. Don't hesitate, because some of the opportunities that you'll get, you'll obviously doubt yourself and thinking, no, I can't do this. This sounds too difficult, or it's not for me. But do give yourself that type of opportunity to actually try, to be a person that is open-minded. When you get out there, you have to sort of bring passion to everything that you do. And do justice, do it to your best of your abilities, of course, because it's you learn as you go along, that if you don't have the attitude of know it all, then you learn a lot. So you don't bring I know it all cap, leave that at home. Go there and just be teachable. Allow people to teach you, allow people to mentor you, allow yourself to learn. There is no limit if you open enough. So, and also don't think you're better than other. Sometimes people, they look down on either the task or the project. No task should be beneath you if you want to grow in life. A job description is just a piece of paper. You just do what needs to be done. You don't get married to that piece of paper. So to do you do what needs to be done with a smile. Yeah. Not like that. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Would you say, Ms. Mbele, that what is that trait that you think that young women should have in order to carve out a successful journey for themselves? Do you share the same sentiments as Ms. Zondo?
Yeah, I think what Norma has said is definitely, I'm in agreement with it. There's a meme that I came across the other day. I love memes, so if you want to speak to me, you can speak in memes, and I'll get you. It says an accountant is so I'm an accountant by profession. It says an accountant is someone who solves a problem you did not know you had in a way you don't understand. Now think about the founder of Facebook. He solved some problem we did not know we had. The founder of Airbnb, Uber, all these mega successful people. We were happily carrying on with our lives. We didn't know what problems we had, and they've come and they've solved those problems. And we don't actually quite understand how they've solved those problems. So we need young people nowadays to be thinking about what problem am I going to solve, rather than what job am I going to do and what career am I going to have. And when you're going to solve problems, you're going to need very good interpersonal skills, because how are you going to know the problems if you can't speak to the people to find out what their problems are? And how are you going to sell your solution to people if you cannot speak to them? So I think good interpersonal skills are going to get you very further in life, and are going to just support or ensure that you are successful as an individual. Because life is, I think, 99% talking to people. I can't remember the last time I had to think about debits and credits, in as much as I'm in finance. The debits and the credits are not part of my day-to-day life, but dealing with people, negotiating with people, and communicating difficult things to people is what I do on a daily basis. And if I don't know how to deal and interact with people, it can make your career very unfulfilling. So I would say interpersonal skills, because they are going to get you far. If you need to network, you need to talk to people. If you need to get things done, you need to talk to people, and you need to have those skills to talk to people in such a way that they are convinced by what you're saying, and they are prepared to do what it is that you're asking from them.
Thank you so much. So you talk of, not basically working in a silo, and being aware that you're working with people and you need to know how to interact with them. So speaking of interaction, let's get straight into those who interacted with us. Firstly, thank you so much for engaging, to everyone who's watching. So let's get straight into Q&A. So let's start with Siyabonga Masoga's question. So he says, what can you say is your highlight in your career, both to you, Ms. Zondo, and Ms. Mbele, so far? Let's start with you, Ms. Zondo. What is the highlight of your career so far?
Well, yeah, that's the hard one. I think the highlight of my career so far will be all the accumulated, successes, the little wins that I've actually carried throughout the years, until now. Because those are the things that drove me to be where I am, today. But obviously, being where I am, it comes with a lot of responsibilities, and obviously with a lot of you have to go through quite a lot of challenges, in your space. To be able to to move forward. But I think my highlight is of the highlights. I could also maybe just mention the projects that we do within UKZN. I know that we haven't been able to see people for quite a long time, but they are events that we know that at the end, when you see, people actually celebrating, during their graduation, because that's what tells you that's what you do this for, to see the joy that brings the parents that actually attend those graduations. It becomes something that you feel it's very difficult to explain it to somebody else, but it's just something that it touches you in a very, very different way, because you actually see the journey, what people have been through, coming through to the university, struggling, to pay the fees, struggling, academically. But, when it comes to that point, when they actually, complete, their studies, regardless or despite of all the challenges, hardship and all, and that moment when they just stand, in that at that stage, you're like, yeah, no, this is actually making me to do this all over again, even though there are challenges along the line. But when it comes to that, then you like, yeah, this is the moment, that all we live for, and for people to actually walk across the stage, celebrating, even forgetting that they've gone through so much, to achieve that one moment.
Oh, that is such a beautiful highlight to share. I think that's a highlight for a lot of us as well who go through UKZN. So thank you for sharing that with us, Ms. Zondo. Ms. Mbele, what's your highlight so far?
I have two. Have to try and pick one.
Okay.
Let me say that at the age of 29, I became a partner at PwC, a global firm, which I think for me at that stage, and also taking into account where I'd come from, was a very important milestone and highlight in my career. And I think that sort of achievement has just really set the stage for what I've then been able to go on and achieve. Another highlight was qualifying as a chartered accountant, mainly because I didn't get it right the first time around, or the second time, or the third time, but the fourth time around, I finally passed my board exam and qualified as a chartered accountant. And those two things for me always stand out as, I think, even today when I say I'm a chartered accountant, I can almost see doors opening themselves, kind of thing. And when I say I was a partner at PwC, there is that, I'll call it what, credibility or respect that comes with that. So those have definitely been my highlights, yeah.
I'm actually so interested it's interesting to hear that one of your highlights is something that, most people wouldn't value as a highlight. They would say that, failure is deemed to be something that's not okay in the society that we live in. But it's nice to hear that failure is okay. It's getting up and trying again that's important. And we get to see you as a living example that it's okay to get up and try again, because ultimately you do end up achieving your goals. So thank you for that, Ms. Mbele. Mkize asks if there are any other women that you draw inspiration from. So, Ms. Mbele, let's get straight to you. Which other woman do you draw inspiration from?
My late grandmother was the biggest source of inspiration for me. I think if I look at how she was able to get her children to where she got them to with very little, next to nothing, and the kind of resilience that she had, those for me were just the qualities I really aspired to see, that you can be a woman who did not get a lot of opportunities in life, but if you are committed to what you want to achieve and you work hard at it, you'll be able to achieve so much. So I drew, and I still continue to this day to draw a lot of inspiration from how my grandmother lived and how she seeked to ensure that she pushed us to be successful. And for me, that will always be something I think that really stands out. And also, I would also then say, just generally, there are a lot of women who are giving of themselves and mentoring other women. And I do draw a lot of inspiration from that. Once you've achieved some level of success, you need to immediately impart your knowledge onto others that are coming behind you. So if you finish matric, that's being successful, and you need to then go back and impart your knowledge on those that are coming behind you and mentor them. You don't have to be this big successful person to start mentoring people. Just mentor that person that's coming behind you. And I do draw a lot of inspiration from people who do that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Ms. Zondo, which women do you find to be inspirational to you?
Well, I would say probably, I would say definitely mom, but also, but she's late now. She was a very, very, strong woman who was able to take decisions were taken by her in our household. She was, the way she was leading, in terms of, the family, what happens in the family, who does what, and so on. She was able to, and she, even though she was not, didn't finish, high school, but she the job that she was doing, she was able to, plan, in terms of even if she was earning very little, but she was able to plan and make sure that we get the best, and you will see by, every month, the things that she will be, going about, making sure that the family is actually able to, survive. And also not only, the family, because my father came from, a big family. So she was actually taking charge, for even, my uncles and, households and so on, by leading, the family. So she was, a leader in that way, very strong one in that way, and also be able just to bring people together and also just give them direction. If things had to happen, she would be the one who actually come up with, the ideas, and and make sure that people, follow a certain path, if when things are done in a way of, controlling the situation and just getting things done in that way, and move. But I also draw a lot of inspiration from women who are free spirited, who, who don't follow or who don't conform to, certain stereotypes that, the woman should be doing this or that, but people who are more powerful at their own rights, and also people who then are making impact in the work that they do, be it in business or in the arts and so on. But people who are actually, making sure that they are bringing other people along, they are bringing other women along in their journeys, and they lead in that way, and they also are surround themselves with people like them, and be able to then pay it back, and other people along with them in their journeys, and also support and mentor people or other young women in their areas.
Thank you so much for that. Speaking of leadership, both of you spoke about leadership and just being able to forge the way throughout your careers. So Shongani Dladla, asks, what advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders? Ms. Sonda, let's start with you.
I will say that surround yourself with good people that you can trust and who will always have your back. So it's also very important also in the workplace that you have those kind of people that that share your vision, that are always there, and you can always trust that they will do the right thing, and they will always show up and be present, and also I also believe in building a very, very strong team. If you happen to lead a strong, reliable team that can do one thing, because that's what I always tell my team, that they have only one job, that is to make me look good. So if you are not here to make me look good, then so it's very important that your team, the people that you work with, they believe in you, and also you are able to support them, because I believe that I do inspire my team, to actually do that one job that I want them to do to make me look good. So the rest I don't have to tell you.
Okay, Ms. Mbele, what advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders?
I think it's becoming the change that you want to see in your environment. I think that if we were to get a lot more leaders that really just become the change that they want to see in their environment, we would go far. And also what Norma is saying about if you have a team, their job is to make you look good. I think a slightly different spin that I have on that is, if you're a leader of a team, I personally believe that I should be surrounded by people who can actually make me redundant as a leader. And if I'm leading a group of people that can do my job, then my work is done. And I think that's the mark of true leadership. Instead of feeling insecure, I would rather have people that can do my job and make me redundant. Then I can move on to do other bigger and better things once I know that my work here is done. So really just be the change that you want to see in your environment, and don't be afraid to empower people that are working for you.
Sure, that is such a powerful answer. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Mbele. I think we're going to get to the last question because of time. Sorry for mispronouncing your name. Fulufelo Mulidzi, I tried, was asking, how do you guys manage to navigate between your ever-demanding careers and your family time? And what advice would you give to young prominent females who are ascending to leadership and finding the right balance between their career and family life? What would you advise them, and how do they navigate between those two aspects of life? Ms. Mbele, let's start with you.
The ever elusive work-life balance. So for me, it's I don't believe that you can have everything in balance all the time. When I was busy, when I was busy trying to become a partner, for example, at PwC, there is no way I would have been a mother. And so it's always for me about, yes, for sure, you can have everything you want, but I think the reality is you cannot have it all at the same time. And I opt for an approach that seeks to rather focus on priorities or managing your priorities. So you need to know what your priorities are. And when you are then spending time in whatever your priority is at that particular point in time, you need to be fully present. So you find people that spend maybe an hour with their children a day, but in that hour, probably 90% of the time they're on the phone, they're distracted by all sorts of things, and they literally actually only spending 10 minutes with their children. Or they're doing work, but there's all sorts of other distractions going on around them. So they're not fully present and fully there with whatever they're doing and focusing on it. And I believe that to maintain balance, you really just need to focus on managing your priorities, and so that you can dedicate yourself fully to what you're doing, give it your best. And then when you're done with it, you put it aside, you forget about it, and you move on and you focus on other things, and you be fully present. And then also communication is key. For the last 2 weekends, 2 weekends ago, I had to tell my children to say, for the next 2 weekends, I've got my assignments for my studies, so I won't be able to do a lot of things with you. And they're like, oh, okay. And then, but then they knew that demands were no longer there. There wasn't this whole thing of, oh, mom, can we do this? Mom, can we do that? Because remember, mommy told us she's not going to be able to do things with us over the next 2 weekends because she's studying. Or you tell your co-workers to say, listen, I'm working from home and the children are also homeschooling. So just let's manage those expectations so that we can make sure that I'm no longer finding myself stressing out because my team at work needs me and I'm busy trying to learn about whatever it is that I have to teach my children because they're homeschooling. So communication is key in trying to find that balance. So it's not our lives are not, okay, this is work now and this is life now, but we seem to try all the time to manage them as separate things, but they're not. And the quicker you integrate your life, the easier it becomes to manage it. Instead of trying to keep this one aspect of your life away from this other aspect. But there's one of you, and don't try to split yourself, rather just integrate everything and then prioritize and then focus and be fully present with whatever it is that you're doing. Well, thanks.
Most definitely. Thank you for that. Ms. Zondo, what would you say is the key to finding a balance, with your life because of how busy you can get? What is the key to you in terms of balance?
Well, if there was a key, I think I can't find it. Somebody has to bring me that key. Then I'll be able to unlock, that balance. It's very, very difficult. It's easier said than done. That you have to find that balance, but in reality, it's very, very difficult to actually draw a line between your work life and your home life and so on. So it's always just better to find something that works for you as an individual. Don't try to do something that works for somebody else, because it will never work. You'll constantly trying to do things the way other people are doing it, and find that they're not gonna work for you, and then you end up where you started, or make things even worse. So as long as you learn how to prioritize, because sometimes there will be urgent things that you have to take care of as in your work life. And sometimes there will be things that you have to take care of in your personal life. So make sure that you are able to prioritize, and don't feel pressured to only focus on things that are work related only, but not prioritizing also your home life in terms of family and all the other responsibilities that we have. People, especially during COVID-19, people have become caregivers for parents, for relatives and so on. So it becomes very, very difficult to separate, the all those chores that you have, and also trying to do everything at one go. So it's going to take a toll on you. So you just need to make sure that you do everything in terms of what's the priority for today. Although you will have your monthly or your weekly plans, but focus on what is actually you need to go through today, in terms of your to-do list, in terms of your and also have those breaks that are needed, because also it refreshes you, and then it keeps you focused, because the when you sit down again, you'll find that you are more refreshed. You can think even better. But if there's something that is distracting you, or you're trying to focus on work, yet there's another issue that is distracting you, you rather just take care of it and get it out of the way, so that you are more focused and you are present in that particular moment, or in that project, or whatever task that you have to do. And then also don't neglect other aspects of your life, because you have to also maintain relationships, friendships, and so on. Those are all a part of your life, and those things have to move forward in a normal way, or a structured way, depending on which comes first. But we can't really do things, put things in boxes and whatever, because there's only one of you, and you have to then find yourself around, and find how things work for you, and then just stick to that, because that's the only way you're going to survive. If you plan your day, sometimes you have to actually take a little bit of time in the evening just to plan your following day. If it's fortunately, not everyone it's doing the same job that I do, because my days depends on how students are feeling today. If they change, they actually change our plans, on a daily basis, depending on what's happening at that particular time. So then it throws you off, and then your balance is definitely out of the window. And also when you get home, then it takes you long also to then wear a different hat, or take off that hat and put another hat, because it's all in one basket. So it just have to manage those kind of activities well, and then you'll find something that works for you.
Most definitely. Thank you. We got prioritization as well as focus. Those indeed are some sort of a key, towards finding a balance. Last question for you ladies. What is what you want to leave in this world? When all is said and done, with all your accolades and all that you've achieved thus far, what is the one way that you wish to be remembered in the future? Ms. Zondo, let's start with you.
Tim, what was the question again? What you said, one word?
Not one thing, not necessarily one word, just one way you want to be remembered when all is said and done.
I think in all that I do, I believe that I want to leave a legacy, and also be the person that once I'm actually have moved on, there will be something that is actually going to remain standing, where I was, to say I was actually here, and I made a contribution, I made a difference, I had actually made an impact, going forward. Because then when you leave a legacy, it's what people will always remember about you when you are long gone, or when you have moved on, to other, greener patches or whatever you want to call it. That's what I would like. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Zondo. Ms. Mbele, what is the one way you want us to say Ms. Mbele was here? How should we remember you?
I think for me, I would want people to be able to say she did her best. Whether it's at work, whether it's my family, whether it's my friends, I would like to when I'm gone, I would want them to be able to say she really did her best. I think that for me would be quite a nice way of being remembered.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for that. And you've most certainly proven to us that you're doing your best time and time again. The accolades for themselves. Before we get to the closure of our program, I'd like to welcome the UKZN President of the UKZN Finance Society, Mr. Thandolwe Kongo, to give us an address before we close our program. Before we get to that, thank you so much to everyone for engaging. But let's hear from the President of the Finance Society. Over to you, Mr. Kongo.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Tembale Tushange. Greetings, everyone. Good afternoon. As the Finance Society, we would like to thank you all for your participation and taking your time to be with us amongst these two phenomenal women. To the CFO, Ms. Nontutu Gompele, and to the Executive Director of Corporate Relations, Ms. Norma Zondo, we would like to say thank you for removing the veil for us a bit and letting us in on what makes you successful, your journey and your values. As a society, we always hope that our eyes never see and our feet never take us to a society where half of the population is in silence. And as we wrap up our Women's Month conversation series, we would like to reiterate that our staunch support for women in all respects and denounce gender-based violence in all forms. I would be remiss if I were not to end with mentioning and encouraging that all our constituencies and our student populace to register to vaccinate and actually get vaccinated. Let's push again. But in passing, it's always surprising for us that at the end of the day, women get the worst brand of the end. In 2016-2017, Stats SA released the stats on the general household survey saying that 60% of the kids in South Africa grow up without fathers. 50% of that is made up of fathers who are alive but are not present in their kids' lives. Now, this challenges us because what that means is that women are at the forefront of raising us. They give us life. They make it a point that we survive through life's tumultuous routes and journey. But at the end of the day, we always seem to be on the side that says women are not capable enough. Women are not better than men in most respects. But as the Finance Society would like to debunk that myth, and we'd like to commit ourselves to creating a platform and creating such conversations going forward, as to say, women they actually don't need our empowerment. They are already empowered. Women can take us to a better future, and there's future in women leading us forward. So I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to Professor Brian MacArthur, Rakshika, our Dean, Professor Mabutos Banda, our patron, Dr. Pia Bai and Dr. Nomlala. I would like to say thank you for continued support when we bother you as young visionaries, but you always give us space for expression. So thank you as well, Timberlake.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. We appreciate your Yes, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. And we appreciate the fact that you were able to, as Tanolete said, unveil, a lot of things to us. We were able to see a different side to, what happens behind closed doors at UKZN, and be able to see the woman who actually forge and ensure that UKZN is indeed the African school of premiership. And we're so excited that we get an opportunity to, speak to you on such an intimate level. Thank you for availing yourselves. Thank you for taking the time to share with us your insights and what has led you to this position. Salute you. Continue to blaze the trail. And to everyone who is watching at home, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for engaging. We truly appreciate the fact that you've taken your time as well in your day to engage with us and be with us here today and this afternoon. Once again, thank you to the UKZN College of Law and Management Studies for enabling us to have such a platform, as well as the UKZN Finance Society for making today happen. We are celebrating women, not just in Women's Month, but all the time. But we appreciate the efforts that are made to ensure that women continue to raise the bar, and that we make the whole world to know that women can and will always continue to run the world. Thank you to everyone watching today, and for myself, you and the UKZN Finance Society. It is goodbye and God bless. Take care. Thank you.